Good morning. This is Jason Miles of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance and Manufacturing News Network. Today is May the 4th. I am really excited about the call that we got lined up today. We've got some great speakers teed up to share some insights on what's going on in the manufacturing space. The reason that we have these calls is to share best practices and keep everybody sort of up to date on what's going on in the industry. Again, thrilled to have everybody on the line. We've had a little pre-call chatter, talked a little bit about the cool stuff going on in the weekend, and I'm sure that'll come back around throughout the call today. But I did want to let you know, this is, I was looking back over some of the calls that we've done. This is actually, we're 2 months in. We started on the 4th of March. We launched Manufacturing News Network and talking about, some of the things we're doing. And all of the calls are archived on our Manufacturing News Network page. If you go to that page down at the bottom, there's a list of all the archived conference calls, interviews, and roundtables. That's a pretty lively discussions on quite a few of those, and very informational. So feel free to use those as a reference. And again, part of the reason we want to make sure that we share this information today is making sure that we're keeping everybody current. As we look back over this call in years to come, we'll be able to plug this as our go live date for a lot of manufacturers, or go back to office. We've lifted the stay at home restrictions in the state of Georgia, and we're leading the country in that space. I know that Governor Kemp is getting a ton of flack on both sides. A lot of people are saying, man, we're all going to die. And a lot of people are saying, we're all going to die if our businesses go away. So it's, I'm thankful that he's making those decisions, and that's not on my plate to make that decision. But we're going on faith that he's making the right decisions based on the proper information that he's been given. And we're going to be able to restart manufacturing and business as we're accustomed to back in Georgia. I'm pretty excited about it. I'll tell you, for those of you that have been kind of maybe not been tracking all the activity that we've done, I have worked harder over the last 2 months than I have in years trying to transition our business from a live face-to-face event type business to a totally virtual business. And it's been challenging to say the very least, but I know that some of the things and some of the processes that we put in place, we're going to be able to continue on long term, and it'll be ultimately really beneficial to our members. Because events like this today, being able to gather these folks from all around the state to share their insights and connect. I don't know that we're going to do it quite at the rate that we have been doing it. Since March 4th, we've been doing a call every day, at least one, and many days, 2 a day, since we kicked this thing off with a variety of different topics. I'm confident we're not going to go at that rate going forward, but we're really excited about getting some new tours on the books. We actually June 26th, Deny Signs is back on. We had that scheduled for back in March, and we've got that live, and we've got 5 or 6 others that we had scheduled for March and April that we're locking in and getting solid dates on. And I'm thrilled about that. So we're going to be able to connect back live face-to-face very soon, we hope. We hope to do that as soon as safely possible. I'll put it like that. Fair enough? Okay, so with that, what we like to do is we like to kind of reach out into the membership base and get some folks to give us a little bit of boots on the ground insights on what's going on. And I'm really, really thrilled to bring Russell Roman with Rogers Machines on board with us and have him share a little bit about what's going on. Russell, can you hear us okay? Are you good and clear? Get your audio up. There you go.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. That sounds great. Great. Thank you for joining us on the call today. And for those people that don't know you yet, what I'd like to do is just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Rogers Machines and what y'all do in the real world normal times.
Sure. Again, my name is Russell Roman with Rogers Machinery Company. We are a manufacturer of compressed air systems. We're a family-owned company, 70 years old, and we opened up in Georgia about a year ago down in Covington, and we're excited to be part of this call. There's a lot of excitement for us to be in the market of Georgia. We've primarily been a company in the Northwest for the last 68 out of 70 years of our company history. Personally, I can attest to the strength of Georgia and the business economy. I was working down there in the 90s and had the great experience of being there for the Olympics and helping a consulting company grow substantially, basically growing to over 50 people within 2 years. So went through a similar process about where to locate in Georgia and why to locate in Georgia. And we're so excited to be down there and all the great growth that's going on in Georgia. We know it's a great place to be. We supply compressed air systems to manufacturers like this group, and we're an essential element to the business of this group. So we're proud to support your businesses.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm glad you're able to be with us in GMA as a member, and also, plug it into the community. And I'm glad you're able to be on this call. I would kind of like to pick your brain a little bit, in from the business aspect in dealing with the coronavirus. What has been the impact so far of the coronavirus on Rogers Machine and kind of some of the customer base that you guys serve? What is it done for you guys?
Sure. Well, I think for if I look across our business, like I said, we're a national company with mostly a focus in the Northwest. So we've seen different things from the impact of the coronavirus. Everything from we're busier than we expected on the service side in areas like San Jose, California, where customers are taking the opportunity with the downtime to catch up on maintenance that they may have fallen behind on.
Okay.
In areas like Idaho, now they're opening up too, and they're seeing some positive movement. But we have seen some customers, because of furloughs and such, they've delayed orders or they've made decisions to. We really haven't had much cancellations, but they may be renegotiating terms of the business. But yeah, and we've taken some actions when coronavirus first started to come together as a leadership team and look at two things and to really address some of the business impacts. One was looking at our business overall and determining the variables of sales primarily, because that drives most businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at what's the impact of various scenarios, 10% reduction in revenues, 20%, 30%, and so forth. That led us to a transformation program that we're calling Battle Stations. And that transformation program is focused on two things. One is, what are ways we can drive additional revenues? And then the other aspect is, what are ways we can drive savings? And the savings really are focused not on reducing headcount, but looking for process improvements. Like many of the members in the group, we've been pursuing lean, further pushing on lean as well as other cost savings initiatives so that we can generate extra cash in case we have some unforeseen business events.
Okay. That sounds great. I mean, that's
Yep.
a two-pronged approach to make sure that you can continue on, and continue to serve your customers. And that's
Right. Absolutely.
As far as you'd mentioned something about California, some of the companies out in California plugging in and doing some of their maintenance. A lot of the manufacturers that I've been talking to are, some of them have done line changeovers. Now is the time, like you said, get that PMs in,
Right.
Early. Does your staff, have y'all got any kind of regulations or restrictions on travel to go on site to do maintenance or any of the kind of upgrades?
Yeah, so the challenge for us is it's on a state by state basis. Early in this journey with Georgia specifically, a couple of weeks ago, it was really challenging when each county, as you guys know, had different restrictions. So it was really hard for us to plan work when we had to look at, this county had restrictions different from that county, and then down to municipalities too. So that really made it really challenging to schedule work. But it was one of those things where you just stay on top of it. You talk to the customers, you work with the customers, and we've been the other thing that we've been pretty focused on is lobbying with states and with government agencies to statewide, we're essential businesses. I know many of the businesses that are part of this group are essential businesses too. So we found that to be helpful too, to make sure that we get in where we need to perform these services on machines, whether it's preventative or repair.
Okay. And you're finding most of the manufacturers that are listed as essential still in operation, pretty open to bring you guys in. Have any of the companies that y'all have gone into had any kind of new policies on bringing outside staff in to their
Yeah, I
facility?
think I'm sorry, Jason. That's been one of our challenges. Each company has different policies and procedures, and we have to adapt to each one of those specific
Right.
company requirements. But yeah, I mean, different companies require us to fill out documentation, certify that the technician hasn't been sick. Early on it was, have they been to China? Have they
Mhm.
been exposed to different people and such? So yeah, each customer has different requirements for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty interesting to kind of see how all the bits and pieces fit together. I know it, like in the city of Lawrenceville where we're based, they were super restricted. They locked everything down.
Right.
And initially I got, approval to be, I thought that there was this big magical list somewhere that existed. Well, there is a list. I will tell you that there's a list, but when you boil it all down in the state of Georgia, if you feel like your business, the way that the shelter in place was written, effectively, if you're not in direct contact with customers coming through the door in a retail environment,
Right.
especially if you're in manufacturing, if you consider yourself essential, you're essential, right? I
Right.
mean, that's kind of how it shook out. I mean,
Yeah.
all the BS aside, and they kicked it over to the centers of innovation, or the through the economic development department,
Right.
to for the MEPs. If you have questions, if you're essential, you'd pitch it over to them and let them make the determination. But if you didn't have questions about it, you could determine, hey, we are essential, we're going to be there. So pretty much manufacturers, if they wanted to work and they could get people to come in, most of them have been plugging in. So
Right.
been pretty interesting to see how that has flushed out and continues to go. Because I had went and got approval through the Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners, the chairman of the board, and then so they said, yeah, everything's good, and then circle back around. Then city of Lawrenceville imposed new restrictions, and I went to the city and said, okay, well, where are we at with that? And they're like, okay, you're good. And then after found all of that out, the reality is I didn't need to do any
Right.
of that. So
Yeah. I
we're
think
listed as a media platform to be able to communicate with manufacturers around the state. So, that pretty well gives us a free pass to keep doing what we've been doing. So, but yes, it's neat to see how companies responded to that. It's like, do you see yourself as essential, and how do you tie yourself into the supply chain to do that?
Right. So I think one of our challenges, Jason, what we saw early on, which maybe some of the group has seen also, I'd be curious to hear about, is in some cases we had some of our critical suppliers stating that they were not essential businesses and they
Right.
were going to shut down. And then we had to kind of lobby and go to them and say, no, you are essential. We're essential. We're providing hospitals. We're providing, food manufacturers, toilet paper manufacturers, all those kinds of critical businesses that need to continue. So that was an interesting challenge. I think we hadn't really anticipated, and
Interesting.
we had to work hard with a particular supplier. I'm not going to use their name, but we had to work hard, and we actually had to do some lobbying with federal level senators, government
Mhm.
senators reaching out from Oregon to the state where our supplier was located to get them back to work, because
Wow.
they basically were
Interesting.
going to shut down for 2 weeks. They did shut down for a couple of weeks, and we
Yeah.
said, that's not going to work. That's going to mess up our ability to serve our customers who are essential businesses, like I mentioned before. So,
Yeah. I think we all have a new perspective of the supply chain. I know I do. I mean, I
mhm.
felt I was dug in pretty good. I thought I kind of understood a fair amount about it, but I mean, I'm just floored by how much I have learned in the
Right.
process, and so with all that said, I really appreciate those insights on kind of the impact of the coronavirus. But the next is sort of, what are you seeing is really restarting. I mean, do you have a lot of your customers that are that maybe had shut down production that are coming back on board? You know, as one, and then the others is if you had any of your projects that were postponed or delayed, have y'all reset any future dates for things that were sort of pitched in limbo? So what does the restarting look like on your end?
Sure. So I think with the changes, I'll talk to specifically what's going on in Georgia because that's most relevant to this group. But what we're seeing in Georgia specifically is we're seeing customers and prospects coming back online this week. Everyone's told us, we're ramping up this week, and depending on the customer, they may say, oh, give us a week to kind of get started and then come back. But we're starting to see people come back online really this week. So we're excited that folks are coming back online, and we're looking forward to getting back at full strength. And we've held back on over the last couple of weeks. It's in our business, it's really important to be able to see the equipment. And if we can't see the equipment, the plants are shut down, or they're not allowing outsiders, it's really hard for us to be able to do an estimate.
Right.
So we're looking forward, and customers are indicating to us that they're going to start, allowing outsiders in. There's still, some businesses that are really still shut down, but we're hoping that they're going to, come back online soon. I think it's driven also by, if they've had any spikes in incidents of coronavirus, right? If they have incidents in their plants, they're not going to open up their businesses, until that's fixed.
Right. Yeah, I imagine you guys, especially in the food production industry, I mean, that is like, essential, critical, essential infrastructure. We got to make sure we keep that stuff going.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you about, on your battle stations, trying to figure out sort of what's next. How are we going to weather this and then come out stronger on the other side? Both on savings and your process, improvement side. But the piece that always, kind of gets my ears to perk up is the revenue side,
Mhm.
sales. I know that there's been a ton of trade shows. I mean, Modex was the last known official big, trade show
Right.
that survived Atlanta. But a lot of trade shows have been canceled for the year, and some of them have been postponed and that kind of thing. Do you guys do a fair amount of your business conducted through the trade show industry? And if so, what's your guess on when you guys might be willing to or interested to plug back into the trade show space?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we've used trade shows as a revenue outlet. It's not clear to us when the trade shows are going to start coming on board. I think what the crisis has taught us is how to be a little bit more creative in terms of revenue generation.
Okay.
Trying to use more webinars and seminars online to pull in customers.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned before, that the Georgia Manufacturing has mentioned. So we besides trade shows, what we've, as part of the Battle Stations initiative, we're also looking to be creative in terms of other avenues how to acquire revenues too. So more focus on online customer business, as well as we're looking for other revenue sources, partnering with businesses in the industrial equipment business where we might have some excess capacity, take some
Okay.
production capabilities on, where they might have an overload, and take that business on now too, just so that we have a little bit extra work to keep our factories busy. So
Okay.
that's kind of some of the revenue ideas that we've been looking at.
Perfect. Man, that is fantastic. I know you got a 10:30 call you got to get on with your team, but I did want to take just a second
Yeah.
to open this thing up and see what questions might have been popped up as a result of the thing. So let me see. Stand by. Spotlight. All right. So share with us, guys. Is anybody who's got the first question for Russell? You can just unmute your line there.
When you say you're taking on some outside work with your manufacturing capabilities, can you go over what those capabilities are real fast?
Sure. So we have in our business we have some partners that manufacture and develop products either that we sell or we distribute. So as a way to kind of uh, increase our revenues, that's what I'm talking about. Does that answer your question or not really?
Okay, I thought you were like using some of your manufacturing capacity that would normally be towards making a compressor or a new blower and shifting that to doing contract manufacturing. So I misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at contract manufacturing, but it's really focused in terms of whether, one of the things may be like taking a look at, blower manufacturing. We don't really do a lot of blower manufacturing. We do some specialty vacuum projects. So we're looking at with some of our partners, specific opportunities, like you said. Uh, some of them may be more contract manufacturing, some may be more of a outsourced relationship kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. And Russell, we're having to adjust a little bit in y'all's account, just a little bit for contact information.
Right.
Before you leave, if you wouldn't mind, hop over in the chat box and feel free to include your email and your phone for anybody if they got specific questions, and see if there's any need for compressed air or any of the
Sure.
other resources that you have there. That way people can connect with you directly. And thank you again so much for your participation on this call and giving us your insights. I'm excited to see where we're going next, and getting everybody back up to full speed soon. So
yes, thank you, Jason, for having me. We're excited to be part of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, and we look forward to working with everyone and look forward to future conversations. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
That sounds good, buddy. I appreciate it for
Thank
sure.
you.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Man, that's a great insights. I tell you, it's really cool to be able to do these and bring these thought leaders to the table from different parts of our industry. How many of us manufacturers can survive without compressed air? I mean, think about how few facilities would be able to operate if there wasn't no resource there. So, love to have these guys on board with us and plugging in. And next up, Mr. Joe Paolini. I am really, really thrilled to have you on board with us. You have been super active in the GMA community, and I know that there's a few folks that have not had the opportunity to meet you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch this over to you and I'd like you to introduce yourself and your company and tell us who you are, what it is that you do.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. Thanks, everybody. I know, I've gotten a lot of opportunity to talk to most of you over the past few weeks, and it's been great. I keep saying that as bad as this situation in the pandemic has been, one of the blessings has been to be able to connect with people that maybe you wouldn't have normally connected with outside of this, and it's been truly great the past 6 or 8 weeks for that end of it. Well, I'm Joe Paolini. You got the name right, Jay. You didn't butcher the last name this time, so you're good there. And we're a little bit of the oddball in the Georgia Manufacturing Association from a company standpoint. We're actually a nonprofit here in Atlanta. We work with people who have disabilities. We do that in a variety of ways. We have benefits consulting. We do family support. We operate a community trust, and we do a whole line of job coaching and job development and connecting people with disabilities with employers. So that's one part of our company. The other side is the work side. And we operate lines of businesses for companies. We do janitorial, we do custodial. We have a couple warehouses here in Atlanta, one in Jonesboro, one in Atlanta, where we do logistics and supply chain, as well as picking, packing, stuff like that, to actually employ people with disabilities, provide training, and then connect them out into the workforce. So for us, business has been good the past couple months, fortunately. Especially in the custodial world. We operate a lot of government contracts in the Southeast, all the essential, they're obviously all essential services. So not only is business maintained, but it's also increased with the special cleanings and the one-off cleanings throughout the city and throughout the Southeast. We've also had the fortunate connection of connecting with J&S Chemical here. We actually connected through GMA. J&S Chemical is a big chemical manufacturer out of Canton, and they pivoted to produce hand sanitizer about 6-7 weeks ago. At that same time, we pivoted as well to be able to provide work for people with disabilities through this time, and we were doing the bottling, or we still are doing the bottling and distribution and sales of the hand sanitizer. And that's been just a great relationship going forward through the pandemic. So we have a lot of hand sanitizer if anyone needs some, as businesses are open. We sell it in bulk. We have spray bottles. It's been really hard to find, and the stuff that's available on the market is really expensive. So us and JNS are partnering together. We're not looking to make money off it. It's really just about supplying jobs and then filling that hole in the community. So we're selling it basically at cost. I'll put my email in the chat for anyone who might need that, for drivers or for offices and warehouses, whatever's opening up over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that's basically been the story of the past few weeks on the Bobby Dodd Institute side of things.
Very cool. Very cool. I tell you, that's cool to see how companies are able to shift their production, shift their, the core of their business. The core of your business is to, take care of people with special needs. And that's a really cool program and setup. I know a lot of other companies. I've been introduced to the Bobby Dodd Institute for several different companies in y'all's area, and it's all high marks. Everybody that I've talked to in the production arena that have used y'all services have had nothing but great things to say. And I love finding a need in the marketplace and filling it uniquely. That's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
Have an impact on a lot of lives that way. And I'm thankful to have you guys on board with us and filling that role. So the impact on the coronavirus as far as y'all's productivity, what have y'all seen as far as activity, jobs? I know that there was a little bit of you said there was a little bit of a stutter step, but back about 6 weeks ago during that pivot. Share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, where we experienced the biggest stutter was in our warehouse operations. And just especially with working with high risk clientele,
okay,
and being able to figure out how to operate efficiently and safely in that environment. We also operated a 90-person call center for J&B Medical Supplies out of Detroit. We do that here in Atlanta. So we experienced some spacing issues. Obviously, your call center, everyone's kind of in cubicles stacked on top of each other, sometimes sharing equipment. But fortunately, we were able to space them out. We've made some technology improvements over the past couple of years, so we were able to move 10 or 15 people to our Atlanta office, 10 or 15 people to our Jonesboro office to maintain the call center continuity.
Okay.
And as far as yes, Mike, I am very familiar with Tommy Novus. We're very similar in scope of work and the things that we do. We're a very good company.
Very cool.
That we work with on occasion. But like I said, the warehouse was just not a new space, but it was a space that we're trying to figure out how to operate in this environment, and the sanitizer thing came along, and it's been great for our warehouse operations. But the custodial, the landscaping business services that we operate, those have all either increased in sales or stayed the same. We've been fortunate to not have to furlough anyone, to not have to lay anyone off, and for a nonprofit in today's environment,
that's huge.
that's rare. So we've had a lot of great leadership leading up to this that has put us in a position to be successful and also to thrive during this as well.
That's awesome. I love it. And as far as restructuring, are you getting many calls for new contracts or new opportunities for your crew? I mean, what does that look like? Do you see people coming back out of the woodworks yet? Yeah,
for sure. A lot of it has been when this first happened and businesses were closing, they wanted to do a one-time top to bottom disinfecting. And I think there's 3 different levels of business cleaning, and we're certified for all of them. And out of that, out of those one-time cleanings, the companies we work with saw the professionalism, saw the quality of work that we do, and then wanted to lock us into yearly contracts. Georgia Tech's a big one. We've done a couple of the buildings at Georgia Tech for a long time, and we've been able to extend our services through. I think we added another 15 or 20 people onto our staff there, And
Wow.
then we're looking at, they have a 200,000 square foot facility that they're doing with up in South Marietta. I forget the name of the company there, but Georgia Tech had opened up a big facility there. So we're gonna, I think, start taking over that contract as well as a lot of the government contracts and military bases. I was in Alabama last week bidding out some work at Red Arsenal up in Huntsville, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's been a lot of opportunities out there for this.
What's y'all's head count? How many folks have y'all got engaged out in the marketplace these days?
We're about 500.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, and we're, like I said, we've got 4 offices in Atlanta. We have one in Atlanta, one in Jonesboro. Our call center is down in College Park. And then our Empowers team works out of Decatur. And they're the ones that operate all of the family support, navigate people through the government paperwork with getting disability insurance and benefits and all that. So we have a whole team just devoted on that side.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Joe, you guys have got all your information on the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance website, but I would encourage you to go ahead and throw it down here in the chat. So those folks that might not have access to all of that, they'll be able to reach out to you. And really, again, thank you so much for being a part of the call today. And I want to open the call up to anybody else got any questions for Joe. Who got the first question?
I saw Henry's question. Henry, yeah, there is a distinction, and we are certified to do any level of disinfecting as well as cleaning.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, that's gonna come into play for a lot.
And I will toss it out there too for the group. As things start ramping back up, and if you're looking to connect, we connect. We have big business partners all over town, and we're always looking to connect with inclusive-minded companies for whether it's us providing a line of business service for you, or even employment opportunities for our participants. There's a big workforce out there for people with special needs who are looking to work and can do quality work out in the workspace, and we provide that support to get them going, to get them started, to get them training, and connect them out to the workforce. So if you have any needs or you have any desire to connect and learn more, feel free. I'll put my email and stuff in the chat after this as well.
Fantastic, Joe. I really do appreciate that for sure.
Thanks.
All right. So I want to throw a couple people under the bus real quick. So if you're in manufacturing, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're in production and manufacturing. You make stuff. We got Jason Lamers and Illy and Justin. I'm going to count you in that space, and Pierre. Kind of pull you guys in just a little bit. I did want to kind of pick your brains about what you guys are seeing as far as bringing workforce kind of back to the table. Jason, I know, Jason Lamers, I know you kind of sequestered in your home office. I know you're ready to get back into the swing of things, but you do keep kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in production. Would you be mind sharing a little bit about what you're seeing and hearing from, again, first tell us who you are, what company you work with, and sort of your role there.
All right, I'm Jason Lammers. I'm with Grenzebach Corporation out of Noonan. We manufacture material handling equipment as well as do contract manufacturing services and sheet metal fabrication, mechanical assemblies. I'm in sales for that latter part of that role.
Okay. Cool.
As far as our personnel and manufacturing, bringing people back to the table, executive management has decided that we will stay working remotely for all personnel that can reasonably do that through the end of May, and maybe a couple weeks into June. We don't have a return to work date firm yet, but we do have an all hands on deck meeting Monday afternoon, next Monday afternoon.
Okay.
To discuss the plan going forward. But that's all we have right now. Okay.
Cool. And you guys have seen kept your production line pretty well rolling, keeping all your folks as an essential business. You guys have been rocking it down there, right?
Yeah. Well, none of the production staff has gone home. In fact, the engineering manager, head of project engineering, and head of planning are all still in the office.
Yeah. I bet hopefully they got caught up on a lot of their PM, ready to crank this thing back up to the next level, right?
Well, our production has been full this entire time. The only lull we had was in assembly, where we had a couple of guys who weren't booked out 100%, but they spent most of their time doing building maintenance, patching
Right.
holes in walls and fixing desks and stuff.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the day as soon as you guys give us a green light for us to come by and visit. We'll wear masks and gloves and footies or whatever we got to do. So we love to showcase some of you guys, showcase y'all's capabilities again soon. So when it's good for the executive team, leadership team.
Yeah, we will have GMA as soon as it's green lighted.
Just so you know that, thank you so much, but that is an open conversation for anybody that's on this call. If you have manufacturing facilities and you'd like to showcase them, right now is a prime time to get on the calendar, because sometimes it can take a little while, but we want to extend that offer out there. So good deal. All right. Ely, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world, my friend. Tell us who you are and where you guys are located.
I'm Ille Van Engelen. I work for VDL Industries. We are in Flowery Branch, Georgia. That's near Gainesville. We are all back in the office since last week, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Still with all the precautions, mostly people wearing face masks, unless you have your own office. I have my own office, so I can distance myself a little easier.
Nice.
Besides that, we do sheet metal fabrication, CNC machining, welding, and we haven't had to lay anyone off, still running at full production, but getting in new work is a big challenge.
Okay. And so I'm gonna kind of pitch that back around, like I talked with Russell about. What do you guys typically? What's y'all's go to market? What kind of marketing strategies have y'all had in the past, and has there been any significant changes to that?
Yeah, well, since we're new, we actually want to really ramp up this year by going to more conventions, being actually an exhibitor, and also having our own stands at conventions. So that's actually something that's tough right now, and postponed probably to Q3, Q4. And we hired some more salespeople to really hit the road.
Okay.
But that's all on hold right now. So we're just trying to be as much involved as possible on calls like this, and trying to reach out in a respectful manner to people to see if they need any work or they can outsource.
Perfect. Well, one of the things that we've been kicking around here is guys, if you're on this call and you've been to any GMA events, you know that we're live, face-to-face, belly-to-belly type organization. We do tons of tours and networking events and educational sessions, and it's all live stuff. And like I said earlier in this call, we had to pivot to everything virtually, and that's been a little bit tricky. But we're actually putting together some really cool digital packages for folks that want to engage differently, and those will be coming out probably by the beginning of next week. We've been working on it for several weeks now, and we're trying to finalize and formalize some of the offerings and putting some pieces in place, because I believe we're going to have to confront the challenges of the way that manufacturers and folks in the industrial sales market. We just got to. If I could wave my magic wand, man, we would be doing trade shows tomorrow, back to the old way of doing things, and we would throw all the masks away, but that's not a reality, right? So with that being said, we're developing some new structures, like everybody in manufacturing them, that we're all learning new ways of doing things. So I kind of like a challenge. And so we got a pretty good one, but we want your input on how we can better serve the manufacturing community, especially in the marketing side, because we want to make sure everybody sells to somebody. Everybody's selling. I don't care who you are and what you're doing. If you're an attorney, or if you're employee benefits, or if you're in logistics, it doesn't matter. Everybody's selling to somebody. That's part of the process. Manufacturers have a really unique challenge in that. And some of y'all have heard me quote this. I'm part of the trade show executives, because we host the Georgia Manufacturing Summit. We are still online September 15th, guys. That's on our radar. We're still planning to have our event at the Cobb Galleria. We're going strong with that until they tell us we can't. That's what we're going to do, right? I think everything should be clear and we should be golden by then. it's subject to change like everything else on the planet right now. But we're trying to get folks geared up and prepared and ready to get back into it. And then the folks in the trade show space, we know we have to be the leaders in this area. We got to keep it safe, and we got to do the right things. But manufacturers are, there's $146 billion in sales that either were canceled or delayed due to the cancellation of trade shows in America in the first and second quarter. So Q1 and Q2 cancellation of trade shows. All the statistics tell us that it's been in excess of $146 billion of sales that typically transact through shows. Those are gone, guys. Those are not coming back. Q1, Q2, pretty well pitched that. So we got to figure out what the next step is. How do we get back to a new sales cycle, a new process? So that's what we're here. So we want to, if you guys have ideas and concepts that we hadn't kicked around yet, again, probably beginning next week, we'll start rolling out some new opportunities for folks to plug in. So we're excited about that, but we're also open to input and feedback. So really appreciate your insights there. It does look like I think, Jason, you said that the Design to Park got rescheduled to August 12th?
August 12th and 13th.
August 12th and 13th. Design to Park's a big trade show that goes around the country. It's a really cool show that we typically go to. We don't exhibit there, but a lot of our GMA members have found pretty good business as a result of D2P. We partner and promote their event, but we actually don't exhibit there. So with that being said, so that's the, canary in the coal mine, August 12th and 13th. Let's see how they do it. We'll try to follow suit in September. Okay. So with that, I want to open it up. Anybody else in the manufacturing space directly producing or have been producing going on? All right.
Just a note,
Pierre?
Jason.
Yes.
I'm Pierre Tanguay. In fact, I used to work for Wheelabrator, which makes OEM equipment for surface preparation.
Right.
I left them in January, but I'm still doing some consulting work with them. So I'm still contacting them pretty regularly.
Nice.
As far as status, the manufacturing side has stayed pretty steady.
Okay.
They did take and spread people out on 2 shifts rather than 1, just to get people spaced out.
Right.
That's coming back. So in the next 2 weeks, they're prioritizing getting those people's schedules back together so they can all be together. The office, they've pretty much left up to department managers.
Okay.
On how they are going to come back. Obviously, the distancing, the masks, everything's in place. But depending, if anyone can work from home without disruption, that's the default.
Right. Right.
So I think they're starting to pick back up. There's some normalcy starting to show up, which is, I think, what everyone on this call is just looking to have.
Yes.
It's just getting back to what we considered normal. We may not have liked it at the time, but right now I think most of us would just enjoy having that.
Yep.
So that's kind of where Wheelabrator's at. I think it's starting to pick back up. The enthusiasm, I think, is starting to come back.
Right. Fantastic. I appreciate you sharing for sure. And we would love to come back. We had a fun tour at your facility. So about a year and a half ago, and really great facility.
Over 2 years ago.
Has it been 2 years? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm working on them.
Okay.
In fact, I'm working on them to get them like August, September.
Nice. We would love that. We definitely appreciate that. So that sounds great. Thanks a bunch for sharing, for sure.
Sure.
All right. Mr. Justin Hughes, I know you're in the, not actually building parts, but you're moving a lot of them. Tell us what's going on in your world, bro.
Yes, sir. My name is Justin Hughes. I'm the managing member of Diesel Grid, and our space is we're the transportation for a couple key warehousings or distribution centers. So we travel around Atlanta a lot at multiple facilities and are kind of the first indicator of the markets and stuff. We obviously saw a big dip in April, not so much in March, and part of that would be, you can look at 2 different. I always look at the flip side of the coins. You've got full truckload and you've got LTL shipments. So when people are ordering, what was being ordered in the month of April was mostly truckload shipments. So if you had masks, you were sending all of them. Or if you had what people needed, you sent all of it instead of just one or two items like it normally would.
Mhm.
So there was a quite difference in change there, and we tried to shift as much as possible to accommodate that on what was available and what people would share or couldn't handle. So, but what we did see last week, and on a typical month, our end of month is normally a heavier week of revenue, and so we did see that though in the month of April. So that's pretty good.
Nice.
What we were anticipating though is, when Georgia goes back to work, it'd probably be a 2-week time frame. Most warehouses should have been fully equipped with everything, had plenty of time to order everything and got it on what they were going to do and purchase. So now that people are going to slowly come back out and start spending and acquiring things, we'll see those warehouses start to get that to the consumers. And then we'll see some more pickup in requests for shipments. And that's what, we were anticipating a 2-week period. So last week's numbers are a good sign for us. I know the government did give us a lot of money, so that may help, and it may happen sooner than later. I thought the slowdown was going to be a lot faster than it was for us, and it was not. So that was a good thing.
Okay.
So maybe I'm wrong on this too. Maybe it'll bounce back a little bit faster than I am anticipating. And so far, that's what I'm seeing.
That's fantastic. Well, that's one of the reasons we're using this as a bellwether. I mean, the folks, if you're on this call, you're leading the edge. You want to know what's going on. You're actively engaged in your community. You're not, huddled up under the staircase, sucking your thumb, waiting for it to wait until November or December to come back out, right? We know that if you're here, you're ready to go, right? I mean, all of us at some level, we've got to be able to get business back going. And I talked to some people about, business just being stopped, when the order came down that we're going to do this shelter in place, that business stopped. There's a difference between stopped and paused, in my opinion. And it might be just semantics, but in my opinion, I think that we put a cork in the tub and we just paused it for just a minute, but we have a pent-up demand. People are ready to get, everybody that I've talked to in the production space, as tricky as the supply chain has been in finding the holes in it and what was essential, critical, manufacturing, is amazing as that was to discover. It has been just as amazing to see that everybody is loading up. I mean, they're loading, getting ready to go. We got the green light, guys. We got the green light Monday. And if we can get employees back in to make sure that we get production back up, I think the orders are going to flow. I was looking at, first of the year before my prediction that we were going to be back in business like we were accustomed to, flowing at the rates that we were flowing at first of the year. But I believe that it may be Q4. I think we might have a blowout Q4. Anybody want to vote, share, chime in on those predictions? Yeah, Pete, you thinking?
I agree with you 100%. I really think that from what I'm seeing from our world, as we've already shared this morning, that a lot of companies are going back, and I think it's not just in Georgia. I think it's in areas across the country. Obviously, New York's going to take longer than most, but I think, yeah, I absolutely do. I think we're going to come roaring back, and you're going to start to see that reflected on the stock market and some of the other key indicators.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to see, we are, again, it's supply chain, everything that we circle back around and talk about, making sure that we secure that supply chain and we understand how it works and we understand how we're fed and how we feed our products out. And with that being said, I think that there will be more redundancy in manufacturing supply chain than there ever has been, because people tend to be too reliant on single source. That I think that there's going to be spreading the risk out like we've never seen before. Now, that's just my prediction. Anybody want to chime in on that?
Just a note, Jason, on that. Not only is it going to be redundant, it's going to be more in proximity. Really? I think the supply chain, I think we've learned our lesson. When your supply chain's 8,000 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
and something goes wrong, it's very hard to recover. So not just the redundancy, but even if your low cost is from overseas, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at a regional source, maybe not as big of a source, but something that can happen to cover when things go wrong.
Interesting. With that being said, I got some really exciting news that's going to be coming out in the next few days, maybe next 2 weeks around that. So you just stand by. I appreciate you bringing that up here. All right. Anybody else want to share the insights on what they're seeing out there, guys? Yeah.
I wanted to agree with Pierre because a lot of the companies I work with are automotive manufacturers, and they are trying to get back into business, but they can't because the parts they need are made in Mexico, which is still in lockdown, or in another country. And so I think you are seeing that these single source supply chains, global supply chains, are really going to be reevaluated, reassessed, as Pierre said, because what I'm seeing is smaller, more local companies, they can pivot and they can kind of come back in, but the large global companies, Mercedes, BMW, these automotive manufacturers, aerospace manufacturers, they want to start and they can't. They're running for a week and then they're shutting back down because they don't have parts.
Right. I think you're
So
spot on.
there's going to be a
Kia's supposed
reassessment.
to be going live this week, but they're not going to be at full production by any stretch.
It's going to be if they have the parts and can get the parts that they need to go.
Yeah. And by the way, your audio is excellent. Thank you so much. You did a great job on that.
Yeah, I switched computers and all that. I think my personal computer's about to die on me. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Finally figuring it out.
Yeah, you got it nailed there for sure. All right. Anybody else like to share? Mr. Russ, what's your insights, buddy? Looks like you've been banned to the backyard. I like it.
I'm out in the screen porch. Weather's nice, so it's okay. I have nothing new. Patents, trademarks, same old.
Right.
Our Taylor English is still posting daily updates on our coronavirus blog. And I'm trying to share those on LinkedIn because we have a lot of smart people here that know those issues and can talk about them. I'm not one of them because I'm way outside my wheelhouse.
Cool. Well, we're looking. You had mentioned something about maybe some putting a session together around a liabilities. Maybe companies that have changed or transitioned their product line a little bit about what the new laws and regulations are about. I think we need to. You and I need to talk about maybe getting that one on the radar.
Yeah, if you want to schedule another legal roundtable, we can put one together. I've already had a couple attorneys come to me to say they can help with that. But like you said, one in particular said she has been researching and is up to date on, are you producing a new product and you haven't produced it before? What are your liability issues around that?
Right.
So, I definitely would love to help out with that.
I think that'd be pretty interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, Russ. All right. Who else? Anybody else got any insights they'd like to share with the call? We're about to wrap this thing up. We got just a couple minutes.
Jason, I do.
Yes, sir.
I started off as a sales for GE in the 70s. This goes back to the gas crunch.
Uh-huh.
And we were trained to do cold calling techniques by telephone.
Okay.
Because any industrial supplier is very face-to-face. Last week, we were on a webinar with commercial real estate brokerage house out of the Northeast. In what we call the retail and the industrial segments to do cold call telephone techniques.
Right.
Those two segments are usually driven by door knocking.
Right.
So you come up, you knock on somebody's door, so they recognize that's going to be a problem. So go back to the phone, not to the computer, but to the phone. And I thought, my gosh, I have to blow off some of these weapons training manuals, with the 3-ring binders and the tabs. So it all comes back around, doesn't it?
It does, a personal. I'm glad that you brought that up. We have got, for those of you that are members of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance and have attended one of Greg Burkhalter's trainings, please raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've been to a Greg Burkhalter training and are GMA member. If you have not, and you're interested, those are the two qualifications. Greg, we got a really cool thing coming up. So if you got to log into your back office and you'll be able to see some special stuff that's going out. And we're actually reaching out to all the members. This is a level 2 course specifically just for GMA members, and it'll be coming up soon. So if you're interested in plugging into some of the, we don't do too much exclusive stuff. I mean, I hope you guys know, I mean, all of these, I mean, 95% of the calls that we've done in the past 2 months every day have been open to the general public, and we encourage that. We're just trying to be a source of information, but there are a handful of member benefits, like our Wednesday call for networking. You do have to be a member, and again, there's a couple of upcoming trainings that'll be members only that'll be plugging into that. So if you keep your eyes out and ears out, because we're going to be on the phone calling people and talking to people, which will be pretty cool. So if you get a phone call, don't be alarmed from GMA. So just be ready for that. All right. Anybody else got anything they'd like to share before we wrap this call up? Ms. Koki, you got anything you'd like to plug in? Oh.
Sorry, I'm typing all this up. No, I'm good. I'm just impressed with everybody connecting with each other through these calls, doing business with each other. You know, I think Joe was saying that early on, and I just think that's wonderful. Great benefit. Thank you.
Thanks for being on. And for those of you who know Koki has volunteered a long time ago to wrap up these calls and kind of consolidate the information on that. So all the show notes she actually provides and does a fabulous job of that. So thank you again. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. Mr. Roger, what you got?
Yes, concerning the summit, are you taking, can people sign up for that now?
Yes, registration is still open. And so if you want to have a booth at the summit, you can register. In the event something happens and we're not gonna be able, if they lock the door and we can't get in, we'll work something out on some kind of credit, you know, back to the account in the event you can't attend. Right now we're still actually, we're kind of we're seeing how the next 2 weeks go, because they have new trade shows that are scheduled at the Cobb Galleria, and we need to see how they respond and see what regulations, because if social distancing is still in effect, I don't know how they're going to allow. I mean, we based all of our budgetary numbers on the summit based on 10 people sitting at a table, and you can't social distance 10 people sitting at the table. Add math, don't add. You can max 2 per table, and there's not enough space to do the size that we had scheduled. We believe that the social distancing is probably going to be relaxed significantly by September in Georgia, as long as we don't have a second wave. If we get a big second wave, dude, I mean, it's all off. But the question you asked, yes, you can register for a booth, and yes, you can register to attend, and feel free to do that. And we will make some adjustments in the event that there is a change to the availability of the space. That makes sense? We're cool? All right. So with that, guys, it has been fantastic chatting with you guys again. I love starting off my Monday with this crew of folks. Put us to work for you. We are here to serve you. We are here to serve the manufacturing community. If there's things that we're not doing that we could serve you better, don't hesitate to give us a call. But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this call up. It has been another great day at GMA. We'll see you guys on upcoming calls. Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.